Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jess, and in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I achieved this natural soft glam look. Even when I can't see and know, even in the lows, I never walk so low. So I'm just gonna start by filling in my brows. I'm gonna be using the Revlon Color Stay brow pencil, and to set my brows, I'm gonna use the Maybelline Brow Fast Sculpt. Next, I'm gonna grab a really thin concealer brush and I'm just gonna carve around my eyebrows as well as set a base for the eyeshadow. I typically do want the base for my eyeshadow to always be lighter than my skin so the colors can really pop. But considering that I'm doing a soft glam, very natural eyeshadow look, I wanted the base to really blend as much as possible with my skin tone. Now that my base is laid down, I'm gonna go ahead and start with the eyeshadow. Let me move you guys in actually just a little bit. So for this eyeshadow look, I'm going to be using one palette. I'm going to be using the Tarte's Pro palette. My favorite part of the palette is that a lot of these are warm toned shadows, so they're gonna match perfectly with my skin tone. So first, I'm gonna grab the shade Innocent, which is this one right here. And I'm just gonna use that as a transition shade into my crease. And I want to take that really high up into my brow bone because it is a very natural color. So it's just going to open up my eye shape a lot. And I'm just going to drag that shade out, kind of like sharp and lifting up my eye. Next, I'm going to take the same brush and I'm just going to go into the shade Whimsy, which is right next to the shade Innocent. It's a little deeper than our transition shade, so I'm just going to keep it closer to my crease and I'm not going to take it as high up as I took the shade Innocent. And I'm going to do the same motion that I did with the shade Innocent. When I reach the outer of my eye, I'm kind of just going to flick it out. Okay, so now I'm gonna go into the shade Edgy, which is this brown shade right here. I'm just gonna tap into it very lightly, and I'm gonna focus a lot of the pigment on the outer of my eye, trying to keep that V shape that I've been doing throughout this video. And with the excess, I'm just gonna move into the crease, and I can blend out that V. So it just added a little more depth on the outer of the eye. As you can see, it's not that big a difference, I still want this look to be very light. Now I'm gonna carve out my crease. I'm gonna go ahead and use the same concealer brush that I did to carve out my eyebrows. I'm gonna use the e.l.f. 16-Hour Camo Concealer. I like this concealer because it sort of sets itself. This concealer is way too close to my skin tone because it matches almost perfectly. And I kind of don't want that for this look. I want it to be a little bright. So I'm gonna use the shade Classic right here, which is like a banana shade. And I'm gonna use the shade Vintage right on the bottom. So I'm gonna mix the two together and I'm going to set my concealer where I placed it on my crease. I think I want to lighten it a little more, so I'm just gonna take the shade Vintage, which is like this white shade, and I'm just gonna tap it over my lid. Now I'm gonna take the fluffy brush that I was using for my lid, and I'm gonna go back into the shade Innocent, which is the transition shade, and I'm just going to soften up the crease. Then I'm gonna grab the shade next to it, which is the darker shade, Whimsy. And I'm gonna focus that on the outside of my eye. So I do want to add a little bit of an eyeliner, but I don't want it to be too harsh since this is a soft glam. So I'm just going to take the shade Smoked, which is this shade right in the corner. It's like a really dark chocolatey brown. And I'm going to take a really thin eyebrow brush. I'm going to stamp into the shade and I'm just going to create a false, really small wing. Like that. You can barely see it, but it really does lift my eye shape a little bit. Okay, and that is it for the eyes. Now I'm gonna do the rest of my face and I'll kind of skip through that part. In order to really snatch the eye look, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my concealer with the lightest amount on it, and I'm gonna wipe it on at the edge of the eye look. I'm gonna let it dry for a little bit because when I blend it out, I don't want it to move so much. But this concealer dries really fast, so it shouldn't take that long. And I'm gonna pinch my beauty blender and blend that out. I'm gonna bring it as far out as possible. As you can see, it gives me a really dramatic, sharp eye look. Next, I'm gonna set my face. Next, I'm going to bronze. I'm not really gonna contour because I feel like a soft glam should be as natural as possible, but I also want it to be really warm. So I'm just gonna grab a kind of small but fluffy brush, and I'm gonna be using the Hoola bronzer in the shade Caramel. And I'm really just gonna warm up the face around my cheek area, but I'm not gonna focus it too much on one area. I'm just going to warm up my whole face with it. I don't know if I want blush for this look, so I'm just gonna take a little bit more bronzer. Now I'm gonna put that everywhere, kind of where I would put blush. And on top of that, to kind of blend it out and tame it down, I'm going to put a really light blush. For highlight, I'll be using the Becca Cosmetics Champagne Pop, and I'm taking a fluffy brush to kind of bring that all over the face. I'm gonna grab a really small concealer brush for my highlight on my nose and my inner corners. So for my nose, I'm just gonna highlight the very tip. And I'm also gonna highlight the bridge of my nose. I'm also gonna use Champagne Pop for my inner corner. And my brow bone as well. I'm really gonna focus the highlight just in one area. Okay, so that really brought the eyes together. Taking my initial brush that I use for my transition shades in my eyeshadow, I'm just gonna go ahead and tap into the shade Innocent, which is our first transition shade. And I'm gonna sweep it under my eye. And then grabbing the really thin eyebrow brush that I use for the wing, I'm gonna go ahead and tap into the shade Edgy, and I'm gonna really tightly pack that on my waterline. For lips, I'm going to line my lips with a nude lip liner. Then I'm going to be using a L'Oreal lipstick in the shade 987. And I'm just gonna tap this shade because it is really pigmented, but I don't want super dark lips. And then I'm going to be using a Stila liquid lipstick in the shade Caramello. And I'm going to be focusing that on the center of my lips. Okay, so now I'm just gonna put on some mascara, throw on some lashes, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here is the eyeshadow look with the eyelashes on. So if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. So like this video if you enjoyed watching it, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this, and I'll see you guys in my next video.